Hello and welcome to Lights on LA. I'm your host, Louise Gill. Today I'm going to be interviewing a special guest who I'm very honored, Chief LaChasse from Burbank Police Department, and I'm actually standing in front of the Burbank Police Department. And in a little bit we will be learning a little bit about Burbank and one of the finest cities and the safest cities in Los Angeles County. So stay tuned and we'll be right back. I am honored today to be in the presence of a wonderful gentleman who I've known for a very long time. We're at the Burbank Police Department, and I am with Chief LaChasse. How are you, sir?
Doing very well, thank you.
I am, first of all, I would like to say thank you for taking the time from your busy day to have the opportunity for our viewers to hear a little bit about Burbank, hear a little bit about a background with you. I actually thought it was 2 years. You actually have been a chief for 4.5 years here in Burbank. But could you give us a little background before that, please?
Yes, I was an officer with the Los Angeles Police Department for a little over 32 years. I retired at the rank of deputy chief and took one day off and then became the vice president of studio protection for Paramount Pictures. Was there for about 6.5 or 7 years, and then went to Southern California Edison and worked with some folks I had grown up with on the federal side of law enforcement, and then got a call about some issues in Burbank and was asked to consider applying for the job, which I did. And at that time it was a 6-month contract, but once we landed here there were some issues that were really not anticipated, and that has become what it is today, a 4.5-year stay.
And hopefully a long stay.
I hope so.
Well, you were talking about problems. Let's talk a little. I know that considering Burbank is one of the safest cities in Los Angeles County. So what problems did you see and what changes have you made ever since you've been in the chief?
The original reason I came here was had to do with personnel issues and criminal investigations, administrative investigations. Those matters have been since concluded. And what we're doing is making a significant amount of progress and truly trying to turn this department into really an iconic department that people will come and harvest best practices from.
And what kind of changes have you made, and what changes do you anticipate?
There have been a lot of issues with wanting to build toward openness and transparency. So toward that end, because of some of the issues that occurred in the past, we've invited a gentleman by the name of Michael Giannacco from the Office of Independent Review to come in and do a deep analysis of our investigations on personnel matters, uses of force, and related topics. And then he independently makes a presentation to the City Council about the findings within the department. And specifically what he's looking at are the adequacy of our investigations, the manner in which we disposed of them in terms of whether it was sustained, not sustained, unfounded, exonerated. And then if there's a sustained allegation, then we then have to administer a penalty. So then he and his team look at the appropriateness of the penalty.
Now, as far as the strategic plan that you have that was implemented in 2011, how is that being implemented today?
We identified about 160 areas that really needed improvement. So what we've done is assign those individual tasks to each one of our captains, and we've codified all of our findings and all of our desires, including the direction we want to go in a strategic plan. It's currently being updated. It was originally published in 2011. But again, toward the whole area of openness and transparency, we have an independent police commission here in the city of Burbank, 7 members of the community. And what we will do is make presentations to the Police Commission relative to our success on each one of the items that we've identified, and we will actually be given a report card by the Police Commission on the success of our achievement of each individual goal.
What kind of problems do you face in Burbank? What kind of crimes are there mostly?
The biggest crime is theft, different types of property crime, but primarily thefts. by it's amazing when you look at the city of Burbank. You find that Burbank has a lot going for it, a very good economic base, very good people, very supportive people of public services, and a lot of freedom here. And what you find is that sometimes we attract people from outside the city that come here knowing that there are things to steal. So a big part of our effort has been prevention. And what we've tried to do is, we call it harden the target. We send crime alerts out. We deal with the Chamber of Commerce in pushing crime prevention information out. And again, it's a very basic crime, but the thefts and burglaries from motor vehicle are very, very significant here, as are shoplifting cases. Now, in a lot of municipalities, people would not be concerned about these occurrences because it's not like Los Angeles, where you do have a lot more murders, a lot of rapes, a lot of robberies, a lot of very heinous assaults. We're very fortunate here that the types of crimes that we face are property crimes, and they can be prevented if people really listen to us. So whether it's a person that lives up on the hill and is absent during the daytime, what we try to do is inform them that there are ways that you can harden your target. And that means your house, and it's not just the alarm systems, it's some of the other physical barriers that should be in place. One good thing that Burbank has going for it is people here are exceedingly vigilant, and when they see suspicious circumstances, they call us. That gives us the opportunity to roll out, and in many cases, we're able to take just a little bit of information provided by a good witness and be able to build a case on somebody. And I mean, that's really what police work is all about. We love doing that. Things occur here that in my 40 plus years in law enforcement I've never seen before. Just after arriving here, I rolled up on a robbery that had already occurred. Our forensic people were out there doing their job, and our officers had the time to go into an adjoining residential neighborhood and start knocking on doors. And sure enough, there was a man that had dutifully recorded the physical descriptions of a couple of people and the license number of a vehicle that he had never seen in the neighborhood before. So based on that information, we were able to do a follow-up investigation that took us down to Wilmington. We arrested, I think, 4 armed robbers, and these people were responsible for scores of robberies, armed robberies in the LA basin, in our area, as well as quite a few in the South Bay area. So again, it was the vigilance of one individual there, and then our officers having the time to invest in a very good follow-up investigation.
Well, that's why Burbank is one of the safest cities, and we do highly recommend, and I'm sure that it is confidential also, for those people that are afraid to say something, because I know that a lot of, especially Armenians, they might know, but they are hesitant to basically say something and come forward. And I'm sure that there is a hotline. I'm sure that there is ways that they could be confidential and they could still give you the help, because they're the first responders. You know, always we say that the police are first responders. That's not very true. It's the witnesses that do help with the crime, to solve the crime.
And that is correct. In one of the things I want to really hit on is that we want people to be good witnesses and not to try to take enforcement action themselves. So if you see a robbery occurring or some other type of a heinous crime, what we would want you to do is immediately call 911, be a good witness, and get as much information, the physical description of the suspects, the physical description of the car, the license number if possible, direction of travel of that vehicle. What we don't want you to do is physically confront somebody, try to disarm somebody, or just confront them at all and try to detain them, because again, we're going to be able to, one of the things that we pride ourselves on is our ability to get to the scene of an emergency call within a couple of minutes. And that gives us the opportunity to go ahead and take enforcement action at that time. But citizens should not be jeopardizing their safety or their family's safety by trying to get involved and take that type of action. Be a good witness.
We were talking earlier, as you were saying, about the community at large. How could they, or us as Armenians, or as the public in the Burbank area, be helpful to you? and you were saying that you're a little bit more transparent now. Are there ways that the community could get involved with different types of programs, or what is there that we could be more helpful to the Burbank community or to the Burbank Police Department?
Our desire is to get involved with every segment of the community. That includes the Armenian community. What we would like to do is have better representation of Armenians on our police department, whether it's in a sworn position or in a civilian capacity. So toward that end, what we do is take advantage of all the opportunities that are presented to go to any type of Armenian youth groups or functions and talk a little bit about the police department, about the recruiting process, about the various types of jobs that are available, both on the civilian and the sworn side of the department. What we're also trying to do is get folks involved in, for instance, our Explorer Scout program, so they can start learning not just about police work, but about good citizenship and how to benefit the society as a whole. And then we also have a community police academy, and we made a conscious decision several years ago, rather than just to present it in English, to do it with some of the other predominant languages within our city. So Spanish and Armenian are the two biggest ones. We've also done it for the hearing impaired as well. So that's something that we're continuing to do, and even though many of our Armenian residents do speak and understand English, we realize there are some that don't do it as well or aren't comfortable speaking English, so that's why we continue to do it in Armenian.
I actually have to say I was part of the Glendale Police Citizens Academy, and I always say, and I would love to be part of the Burbank one too, since I live in Burbank, but I honestly have to say, if somebody takes that class and becomes part of the police academy, as far as the Citizens Police Academy, they learn so much about what you do, and they will understand a lot more of what you guys go through on a daily basis and appreciate law enforcement. That's something that I have always thought about, because you do put your life, whether it's the safest city, there are still, like you said, people that come from the outside that, Burbank does attract. And it could be at any given time that there could be a danger. Regardless, it's one of the safest cities. So I do believe that the Burbank Police Citizens Academy is a wonderful opportunity for those people to really appreciate law enforcement, and they get to have fun.
That's true.
At the same time.
And, we're not here to try to develop a group of cheerleaders. What we're trying to do is get every segment of the community involved in what we do. And there are some people out there that I think came in as naysayers, perhaps had negative contacts with the police department in the past, but they were able to learn through their participation in the Citizens Police Academy that there may have been reasons for that. So what we want to do is just have the opportunity for people to come observe what we do, be able to ask questions and get responses from all the subject matter experts that we have. And then the logical extension of participation in the Community Academy is to then become a volunteer, if that's what one wants to do. So a prerequisite to being a volunteer is the completion of the Community Academy. So we're in the process of bringing on a lot of volunteers that have just scores of abilities that we really don't possess on this department, that are able to really sit down and work with our detectives, work with our forensics people, and give us some real expertise here.
If somebody was wanting to participate in the Burbank Community Police Academy, how would they go about doing that?
What they can do is call our general line in the chief's office. That's 818-238-3200, and then state their purpose in calling and ask to speak to the people in COPS, which is our community-oriented policing function, and they handle community relations, youth programs, and other related activities.
As far as the Explorers, the same number would be qualifying. How are recruitments with the Armenian community or in Burbank in general? How do you, how do you come forward with recruitment?
Any way we can, and certainly me talking to you is one way, but we take advantage of every opportunity to get out and speak to the community, whether it's a group of kids in preschool or middle school kids, high school kids. One of the things we really want to do, as with all kids in our society, they don't realize that things they do as kids can be disabling for their future plans. So that's why we're so anxious to get involved with kids at the earliest opportunity, so we can talk about good citizenship, talk about telling the truth, talk about not lying during an investigation, because these are things that can be disqualifying for a lot of very sensitive jobs in our society. So again, it gets back to that prevention thing I talked about. What we would like to do is prevent people from having a disqualifier in their background, and we're able to do that by talking to them. But again, we're able to, and I personally will go to any type of activity to talk about community police relations, to talk about a specific crime problem. It doesn't make any difference. But we really do need to recruit more Armenian officers from our community. Toward that end, what we've done is worked with a lot of the universities so we could get highly educated folks out there. And again, I think when people get to know us and get to know the benefits of public service and some of the other activities, this is a fun job. It's a very trying job, but there's a great degree of camaraderie and friendship and partnerships that are formed here. And my life has been about public service, and I certainly want other people to engage in that type of activity.
It's rewarding at the end of the day.
It is. You can go home saying each and every day that you honestly helped somebody.
That's very true. How about the budget in Burbank? How does the police department have any effect towards the budget crisis that we're going through?
The budget is better for us. Burbank is a very well-run, administered city. And toward that end, when there was the economic downturn starting in about 2008, the budget suffered a little. So each city department lost some of its budget during that period of time. This year, for the year fiscal year 2014-2015, we actually got an increase. So the police department budget is about $50 million right now, the highest it's ever been. And the city has really rebounded. But I can tell you this from being involved in public service my entire life, Burbank is a very well-funded city. The tax base is very diversified. And certainly there was an economic downturn that did have a negative impact on our city, but certainly not to the degree that it did in other cities. So we're trending well here as a city when you look at the major sources of our income, which is the property tax, the sales tax, and the utility users tax.
One thing that I noticed that Burbank doesn't have any parking meters. That's
a conscious decision that was made several years ago when they removed the parking meters.
That was very interesting to me because I think this is the only city that doesn't have parking meters.
You don't find that many cities that do not have parking meters. The other large city that I know of that does not have parking meters is the city of Santa Clarita. But it's always something. There's always a discussion about is it appropriate to put in parking meters or to have paid parking, and that's a decision that's really made by the city council. So the city council made a conscious decision several years ago to remove parking meters, and that's where we're at now.
One question: I know that Glendale has a huge problem with pedestrian fatalities. Is that something that's a concern here in the city of Burbank?
It's always a concern, in particularly where you have elderly people that have to cross major streets near your senior citizens' homes. What we try to do is, again, engage in enforcement activities, engage in prevention activities, and that's really education. And what we want to do is educate the pedestrians to always be vigilant, and we want to educate the drivers always to be aware of pedestrians that are on the street. So we call it the 3 E's of traffic. First is engineering, to make sure you have properly engineered and designed streets. You have the education piece, and then you have the enforcement piece. We would prefer not to enforce. So for those people that are out there watching, we don't have any problem writing tickets, but we don't have to write tickets if the violations are not being committed. We just would like to have a safe city by virtue of having good, responsible citizens that are educated.
Does the city of Burbank, and I know you've probably heard this many, many times, and I know a lot of people say, oh, well, they have a quota. Does Burbank Police Department have a quota?
No, quotas are illegal, and again, all we want to do is have traffic safety on all of our streets. What we want to do, we don't like traffic accidents. We don't like pedestrians that have been involved in traffic accidents either. We've been very successful this year in clearing the streets of a lot of our drunk drivers, and that's a preventable crime. There's no reason in the world that anybody needs to drink and drive. There are always alternatives. But it's very unfortunate because when you have an accident involving a drunk driver, there's usually somebody else involved, and you've got serious property damage and bodily injury or, on occasion, death. That's not a good thing, so we're very serious about that in this city.
We were talking a little bit about traffic, and I know that there's going to be a lot of construction happening in the city of Burbank with the highways and the streets. How is that going to impact the city with the traffic?
There's a significant impact on the city, and there could be a significant impact on us in our ability to get from one portion to the city or another. But what I would advise all the viewers is to pay attention to the Caltrans notices that come out each week to tell you about street closures and freeway closures. If somebody has some angst about what's going on, and they think that Caltrans or the city is causing a part of the traffic problems out there, then what you need to do is get in contact with either the police department or the city traffic engineer, because we know as people are funneled off the freeway and are on surface streets, they're going to attempt to design new routes to work, and that could create a lot of problems for us. So as we detect those things, we're going to address them. But if somebody is seeing something that we aren't, don't feel restrained from calling us and letting us know. We'll get back to you with a good response, because our objective is to have a safe flow of traffic and an efficient flow of traffic.
We were talking about Armenians and recruitments, and I actually have to say thank you, because you have been very instrumental in the Armenian community. You have always been participant of the Armenian community for all the, social events I have always seen you at, and I do have to say thank you on behalf of our Armenian community, to say thank you, because you have outreach to our community, and you do want to have us participate in things with the police department, which is great. How many Armenians do we have in the Burbank Police Department, whether as civilian, approximately? I know you probably don't know for sure, but approximately.
There are approximately 10, and again, our objective now is to recruit and retain qualified Armenians for police officer positions and the various civilian positions. So we do have Armenian police officers. We have people that work the jail that are Armenians in our records section. But our objective is really to get out and create a desire by people in the Armenian community to want to come on to the Burbank Police Department. So that's something that, and again, some people don't know about police work. Our job is to educate them about the neat things that go on. Some people just haven't grown up around police work. But other people, when they're exposed to the manner in which you can help people, the excitement that goes on all the time, your ability to transfer frequently from one job to another and work different hours is great. The ability to build partnerships with the community, with other police departments, allied law enforcement agencies is really great. So it's when some people find out after a ride along what we're all about, then they've already been recruited. So again, that's why we're trying to penetrate every segment of our community in any way possible, and get the brightest and the best out here, and people that are truly going to be able to render a high level of public service.
You were saying ride-alongs. Is that something that anybody that has a desire only could do a ride-along, or anybody that would like to come and see how it is to be a police officer for a day or a couple of hours? How's that?
We can do that, and again, it's the ability of everybody to be able to observe what police work is all about. So obviously we can't run a bus service out here for everybody, but what we have found is that we can schedule people at different times of the day and night. that's beneficial to us and also fits in with their personal schedules. So don't feel restrained from contacting us. There is a set procedure in place to accept ride-along applications.
I would like to say thank you on behalf of Lights on LA. Thank you for watching, and thank you for being a part of my show.
Thank you.
And thank you for giving such time and dedication and effort for telling our viewers a lot about the city of Burbank and how wonderful it is.
Okay. No, I appreciate the opportunity, and I want all the viewers to understand, number one, that we care. And I think the best way of summing it up is what I like to say to people is that our first objective is to communicate with every segment of the community, and it's a two-way communications, and we want to build and sustain those communications. We want to then build those relationships into true partnerships, and then our other objective is to always strive for continuous improvement. So that's what we're all about, and we just had a community survey completed, and there was an approval or approbation rate of about 85 or 86% for most of what we did, which is really great.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And that's all because of you.
No, not me.
Well, the whole department of the Burbank Police Department, we would like to say thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you so much. Thank you for watching Lights on LA. Stay tuned next week for another episode. Good night.